it is a 3-step system or 3-step protocol. And I'm sure 2 of these are something that you use in your coaching business and you probably yourself every day. And the first one is time restricted eating. And I am a huge fan of whether we call it intermittent fasting or time restricted eating. Everybody's kind of got their definition of what it is. And it means a lot of things to many things to different people. And so I just teach the principle of like a gut rest for 12 to 16 hours. Obviously, you can do way more than that based on your needs and kind of your goals. But I think personally that if everybody can go a minimum of 12 hours, everybody, anyone, even children can go 12 hours. Now, I don't think kids really need to intermittent fast, but letting your gut rest for 12 hours, most people do that without calling it a gut rest or a time restricted eating. They just kind of do it. By the time they go to bed, by the time they get up and get showered and get dressed and get moving, it is almost 12 hours. And so you start there, work your way up to 16 hours. And I'm a proponent of an insulin fast, meaning we just want to keep insulin low as possible for as long as possible to get ourselves resensitized, to start becoming metabolically flexible, where we're able to burn off our stored glycogen, all of that stored subcutaneous body fat, get into our visceral fat to become more metabolically healthy. And that requires not eating. It's the cheapest, it's the easiest form of reaching autophagy. And, I think there's a lot of controversy. We don't really know at what hour we flip into autophagy. I know you'll see people say 16 hours. You'll see people say 24 hours, 36 hours is the sweet spot. But I personally believe that if you can go 16 hours and then you can even exercise in a fasted state during that time, then you're going to tap into some of that autophagy, or for people that may not know what autophagy is self-cleaning, the cells cleaning out. You're getting rid of old cells that maybe don't function properly. Mitophagy is where your mitochondria are replenishing themselves. If you have a lot of loose skin, you're utilizing breaking down some of that loose skin for protein. So it's your growth hormones going up, BDNF, brain derived neurotrophic factor, and your brain's turning on. There's so many good things happening if you can tap into that. And I don't know that you need to go very long. So if you can go 16 hours without eating. Now, when I encourage that, I'm not saying you can't have anything to drink. Water, sparkling water. I mean, I'm a big fan of sparkling water. I used to be a big fan of Sprite Zero. And so I've cut that out and replaced it with sparkling water. And if you want coffee, you can have coffee. I'm even okay, Casey, with if you want a little heavy cream or a little monk fruit or allulose or stevia in your coffee, if it keeps you from eating, let's go there. It's some people may see an insulin response, but the majority of people I don't think will. Again, it's individual basis. But then I incorporate a yerba mate concentrate, which I'll tell you more about that because that is going to be step 3. But number 1 again is doing like working up your way to a 12-hour or 16-hour fast, or meaning like just shut down after dinner and maybe don't eat until lunch the next day. But there are certain people that want to skip dinner, that maybe eat earlier in the day, that kind of fast through dinner. And then eat breakfast and lunch. So whatever works better for you, for your hormones, for your circadian rhythm, that's perfectly fine. Step 2 is a low carbohydrate diet. Now, again, there's a lot of room in what that looks like. If I have somebody that's really obese and, with a high A1C and super metabolically unhealthy, then I'm going to be more strict on saying we need to go get those carbohydrates lower. Let's go less than 30 grams. Let's try to get into ketogenesis. Let's focus on animal-based proteins with the good healthy fat that come with it. Now, if you've got a lot of weight to lose, you don't need to be adding all this extra fat. I see a lot of people, and again, I don't mean any disrespect when I say this I'm just speaking in general terms. I see it a lot of people in the carnivore, in the keto space, adding just ginormous amounts of fat to their meals. And if you're metabolically fit and you're healthy and you're at a goal weight, you can likely get away with that and be just fine. Michelle Hearn, who's my best friend, who runs, 100 miles a week, she can get away with it. But if you've got a lot of weight to lose, you're not going to benefit from adding a stick of butter a day to extra on top of your food. We want you to burn your own body fat for fuel, not the fat that you're ingesting. I love animal. I am not per se carnivore, but my plate is full of animal-based proteins with some veggies sprinkled around it. Not because I think that maybe vegetables are beneficial, but truly because I like them. And I want to eat them. I think if you eat carbohydrates, I do think that you need fiber. I know that we could argue back and forth. You're going to have, half the room that says we need fiber and half the room that says we don't. I don't know the answer to that, Casey. I don't, but I do like what I heard Dr. Sean O'Mara say. And it was he's the only person I've ever heard say it, and it made so much sense. He's like, carnivores back in our ancestor days, they drank water from streams. They dug in the dirt. They killed their prey. They cleaned their prey, meaning they got tons of gut microbiota from all of that. They ate some of the hair that didn't come off when they killed it. They drank some of the blood. There was a lot more to it than our sterile per se carnivores today. So the only reason I say that is I don't think there's a harm by adding some fiber into your gut, only to protect that mucin layer. Do I think we need it to survive? No. But do I think it's beneficial for optimal health? I think it can be. Again, I don't have the answer to that.
Great point.
I don't. And I'm happy to listen to both sides and learn from both sides, because I would love the answer. I don't think anybody knows. Then, so it's predominantly animal-based protein, aiming for a gram of protein per pound of goal weight, ideally. And some women, it's hard to get that in one meal or 2 meals. You may have to eat 3 small meals in that eating window. Whereas a big, huge man might be able to do an OMAD or 1 meal a day and get it in. And so it's all truly individualized, but not being afraid of the fat that comes with that protein. Don't throw away the yolk. Don't get the leanest ground beef you can find. Don't try to find, get rid of the skin on your chicken or not the dark meat because of the quote fat, right? And then if you're going to eat vegetables, stick to the high fiber, low starch, Brussels sprouts, broccoli, cauliflower, zucchini, yellow squash, cabbage, whatever floats your boat, avocado, that type of thing. You're obviously going to tolerate cooked better than raw. I think anybody does.